Hello, and welcome to the Well After Hours. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm your host, Beverly Allen, and as we do every week, we gather around the well with great guests to have a wonderful conversation on various topics and issues through a Christian lens. And today we have a beautiful day. We're going to talk about beautiful things because of my very special guest that I have here and the special day that it is. Actually, today is April the 14th, but we're celebrating April the 15th on the 14th because on the 15th is World Art Day, which celebrates the fine arts and promotes awareness of creativity worldwide. And you know, the Lord has his people throughout the whole world displaying their arts, their gifts, and their talents. And I'm so glad that for World Arts Day celebration, we can celebrate a very popular, beautiful local artist, which I knew many, many years ago.
Yes.
And she's doing wonderful, phenomenal things. And I want to welcome, she's a sister, and she's also a sister in faith, Denise Toney. Welcome to the well, Denise.
Thank you so very much for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you. Denise holds a special place in my heart because many years ago, she was a member or a graduate. She's a former graduate of a program that I had for young women and young men titled Polished Acts Inc. And she's such a fabulous student. And to see her in later years, now all grown up, mature young woman, and doing the things that she does in the art world is phenomenal. So I am just so glad to have you here, Denise, and to talk about art, which is so beautiful. And after looking at your art, and you're going to get to see her art on display and see many of the things that she does. Because when we think of art, sometimes we think of like, just a paintbrush, a canvas, and we think that's all there is. But art is so much. There's so much visual art that's out there. And one of the things that I just wanted to kind of bring up is because I noticed some things, and I'm going to get into that, but I want to give the viewers just a little insight about who actually Denise Toney is. I want to just read a little bit of your bio for them, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Denise. Denise Toney is a New Jersey multidisciplinary artist who delves primarily into fiber art, 3D art, quilting, and decoupage collage, and mixed media using predominantly African, Aboriginal, and other imported textiles. She's been selected for several juried art exhibitions at the Morris Museum, which is New Jersey's only Smithsonian affiliate, the Newark Arts Festival, East Orange City Hall, West Orange Arts Council, Studio Montclair, Bloomfield Civic Center, Manufacturers Artist Village, Art in the Atrium, the Bridge Art Gallery, and I-19 Gallery, including a solo exhibition at the Visual Arts Center of New Jersey, New Jersey's largest institution dedicated exclusively to viewing, making, and learning about contemporary art. Denise is in 5 publications: On the Easel, where artists share their works in progress, Bella Magazine, the God S Movement Coloring Journal by Yvonne, is it Oniki? Am I saying?
Anque.
Anque. Amen. Thank you. And CEO's Rock, 99 Tips to Transform Your Business Today. As a contributing author who appears on the book's front cover, and an excerpt from her quilt is published on the back cover of Morris Museum's catalog. Denise credits her New Hope Baptist Church in Newark for nurturing her as a Christian. Thank you. So good to have you here. Now you know a little bit about her and how you are expanding art. I want to ask you, Denise, would you kind of tell us how you got started on your art journey and, what helped to shape it?
I've been an artist, I would say, my whole life. I know that may sound crazy, but I never really thought to put myself out professionally until I received a call from Linda Street. They were having a at the time, a hospital, they were looking for hospital art. And so I submitted a piece and it was selected. The exhibition didn't go through, but I was selected for it. And then afterwards, I just continued uh, uh, submitting 2 exhibitions, and I got accepted, and it just spiraled from there. But I really have to thank Polished Acts, your organization, because the trophy I received was for best notebook. And to me, that was a creative endeavor because, we had to keep journals and the pictures. So to me, it was like a collage, but in journal form. Because when I had my first apartment, I used to frame it, just different pictures. And it's the way I used to do it. People would want to stay a little longer, but everybody would always say, oh, this looks so nice. Or if I was at a job, the way I had my cubicle decorated, people would just want to stay a little longer because of the ambiance that was created. So I said, well, maybe I have something. And then I put myself out publicly, and the response has been tremendous, more than what I could imagine. And I'm just grateful to be able to use my talents, my God-given talents, in order to have things spiral as they have.
Wow, that is so awesome because, I actually just doing a little bit of reading here and there. I came across a piece by some experts that say why art is so important, and even to start children early in age to get involved in some kind of art form that will help them. And I'm going to just kind of cite 6 reasons why, and you can kind of give your take on that. It says that art generates a love for learning and creativity, and it strengthens focus, improves hand-eye coordination, and helps teach problem solving. It also supports emotional intelligence and helps people express complex feelings. It says art reaches across racial stereotypes and religious barriers and helps to build communities. It builds self-esteem, increases motivation, and improves holistic health. It also, art awakens the senses and helps people experience the world in new ways. So there are so many benefits, to art. How do you feel that you, after hearing some of those things, have benefited through art?
Okay, for my day job, I used to work for New Jersey Youth Corps, where I was a GED prep instructor. And a lot of the students that would come to us, they were already disenchanted with regular school. And so I would incorporate a lot of art activities into the regular lessons, and that would enliven them, make them become more motivated where they weren't motivated before with just the regular paper, pencil. Everybody's not going to receive that way. But when you give them a chance to I guess, search themselves. And a lot of times they say, oh, I can't do it. But then they might try and they'll really get into it. And then the lunch hour will come with, Miss, can I stay here and finish? So you just never know until you try something. Even as an artist, like a lot of times when we go to the canvas, we don't know exactly how it's going to come out until we actually do it. But I thank God for the electives that I took in public school, because a lot of times art classes are the first to get defunded, but they're very, very important because I learned how to work with wood in shop class, and at first I took it in junior high school as it was mandatory. But when I got to high school, I was able to take it as an elective. And I'm glad I did, because to this day, I still work with wood. And I couldn't see that being a teenager. You just never know how your life is going to turn out. And even with sewing, we've had home ec classes. And again, they may have been mandatory in junior high school, but when we got to high school, I willingly, chose those classes. And just something as simple as learning how to sew a straight line or how to sew curves. Back then, when I was, say, a teenager, I had no idea that those same sewing of the straight lines and curves would get me into a museum. I really couldn't envision that for my life. And so I think it's very important to have it in class, in school. And so people can, because, when you're young, you don't know exactly what you like. But if you can be presented with a selection that you get to choose from, you just never know how it might, flesh out your life.
That is so true. And, because, with art is more, as we said, than just paint and brushing. And like you said,
Yes.
even sewing, how
Mhm.
many people become creative designers,
Mhm.
fashion
Yes.
designers, that's art in itself too. Or photographers taking pictures,
Yes.
people sometimes don't always think when you're young as a kid, is that being art? But when you show
Mhm.
them different things, I mean, sculpting and drawing, and
Yes.
how that can lead to professions like architectural design and engineering and so many different things, and I
Mhm.
think it
Yes.
starts early, like you say, kind of helping children unleash their creativity in a way that their imaginations, and it's so beneficial.
Yes. And even learning about different types of art, like they actually have a category for hospital art. And that's to encourage the patients, that's to encourage the doctors who walk by, that's to encourage the people who may come to see someone. You just never know how a piece of art could just jolt you from your reality and give you a sense of joy, just in that moment, even as you're going through something serious, it can just spark, you know, uh, hope within someone, just from seeing colors, patterns, maybe a mood. It could be an abstract piece. You just never know how art can affect someone. I'm just very glad it's here.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. And just like you said, there's also the performing arts. And because you
Yes.
you you brought out a good point, it's so true. How many programs, especially in Black and Brown communities, have been defunded,
Hmm.
for arts and things like that usually used to be a part of the curriculum. Now it's like there's so little left that really stimulates or allows people the freedom to actually explore, their own gifts and talents.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that you have worked with children in school, to
Hmm.
do that, to help and inspire and to motivate them, which is so critical, especially in our communities. It's something else I also found at a website. It's a online, one of the leading online portal and network focused on African American art is the Black Art in America website. And
Hmm.
there was a wonderful article written by a young woman, Shantay. Um, Her name is Shantay Robinson, and
Hmm.
she is a resident scholar at Black Art in America, the site. And she said some, really, it's about her article was titled "A Very Abbreviated Version of Black Art History." And coming out of, Black History Month, art
Hmm.
is a part of our history too. And you don't realize how that has been affected through slavery and systemic racism. One of the things, she has a lengthy article, but it's so worth reading for anybody to go to Black Art in America, their website, and read her article that she wrote. I'm just going to read a few lines from it, where she says, from the start of this country, African American culture developed separately from that of the dominant culture because Black people were prohibited from participating except if they were the main attraction, singing or dancing
Hmm.
for the entertainment of white audiences. While African Americans have been producing visual art in this country since slavery, only recently have they been accepted into mainstream culture. Because Black people were ostracized from the dominant culture through slavery, the culture they create has formed isolated from mainstream culture. Throughout history, African American culture has formed in the confines of the Black community and may have entered the mainstream culture, but for the most part, it is developed in isolation from the influence of the dominant culture. Is this still the case? Well, Black people have contributed greatly to the larger American cultural landscape by way of their culture. While some of it may be co opted and filtered into a whole new form by the dominant culture, it's important for Black people to be aware of their history, and they should be made known of the contributions they do make to the fabric of the country. I know we
Yeah.
have learned so recently through Black history about contributions that have been made by artists in different educators or scientists that were co-opted. Their work was co-opted and put off as though it was, created by someone else. And so now, and Black art, the floodgates have not opened for Black art. While, they are making progress into mainstream, I don't think it's as, prominent as we would like it. Do you,
Right.
what's your understanding, since you're in the art world, as a young, African-American artist and a woman, how do you feel about that?
Well, I absolutely agree. I think I'm very thankful for organizations like Art in the Atrium, because they have been around for this is their 30th anniversary, and they're the largest, biggest organization devoted to promoting Black art, Black fine art. And I had the privilege of exhibiting with them, I think 2-3 years. But this is their 30th anniversary. So I really want to shine a light on them for their efforts, their endeavors in promoting Black art. And also the Juneteenth celebration, the energy last year, June 19th, it was our first legal, I won't say legal, but our first official Juneteenth celebration in New Jersey. And the energy behind that was there were festivals and promoting art and everything. So I think things are making a change. And even with Bisa Butler, who's a quilt artist, and it's like quilt art is being seen more as a fine art now, not so much a craft, but fine art. Because to have her quilts on national magazines like Time Magazine, Essence, it's just amazing. So to me, that gives us hope. And, hopefully we'll just keep on keeping on and, continuing to make art and express ourselves and be acknowledged. And
pretty much, yeah. I mean, and I think we as a people have to support our Black artists.
Yes. Oh, I definitely support. I mean, I'm a fan. It's just like, yes, I'm an artist, but I'm also a fan of other artists as well.
Yes. And, and we who don't, aren't artists need to appreciate our artists more. And because I know that while the art is so valuable, it seems like you don't get paid the sums that, your counterparts get, so I think that's another issue. Like when it comes to pricing art.
Yes.
What is the best way, do you think, for Black artists, young Black artists who are, striving and climbing that kind of, ladder to actually have a profession in art, to get their art seen and, purchased, to get it out there in our community,
I think more than anything, social media, the digital world has been a great help in that, even when the world was closed, because I had an exhibition with the Visual Arts Center of New Jersey, and that was February 29th. And then just days later, we learned the world was closed because of the pandemic. And so that caused a lot of us to transition online, and a lot of us were home online. And so I think being able to migrate from the real world into the digital world and present your art in the way, nowadays we have TikTok, and some people can get really creative with how they put their content over. So I think the young people, because they've had cell phones their whole lives, so they're kind of like a natural for the technology. I think that's an awesome way to get your art across. And, they couple it with the music, the dances, and they even have like some prefabs where you just, I won't say like a template, but if you notice on TikTok, they say, so you're an artist, you think you're an artist, and then you show your artwork. And that's become a theme like for the last couple of weeks, maybe months. And more than anything, I think social media. And then too, you have to diversify, because not everybody's on Facebook. Some people may be more Instagram users or more Twitter users or more on YouTube. So it's like you have to become well-versed in all of it. And it does take time. It does take time for the learning curve. But I think it's an awesome way because it doesn't take a lot of effort to just look. You never know who sees or what might become of it. And I'm a living witness to that. You just never know. Things can really spiral from people seeing what you do, but you have to put yourself out there because you can have the best whatever, but if it's not marketed, then nobody would ever.
Do you teach art as well?
I've taught sewing classes in class. I won't say I so much teach them as I do guide them. Like with collages, I have a Who Am I presentation where they would present themselves pictorially, and they would really get caught up with the vision boards. And also, instead of having them just write regular pencil and paper, sometimes I might break out colored markers, colored pens, maybe put it in a circle, put it in a graphic, something, or just put regular lessons, frame it out with, colored stationery or graphics. I'm a graphic artist as well. So I think when you put an extra edge to it, then it's almost like, I won't say they have to respond because people are different, but it's a way to get more people interested, whereas, they may not have been through regular means.
Mm-hmm. I say that because, sometimes even older people like myself, you think about it, you say, you know what, art is an expression. It doesn't have to be an exact drawing. You know what I mean? I see how people put so many things together. And I think sometimes people have that in their mind, like, you have to sketch something perfectly, or you can't do art is doing anything, you can make art out of anything, and mix, as you say, textures. Can you talk a little bit? We're going to take a break in a minute just to show you a collection of some of Denise's artwork, but can you talk about the decoupage collage, like how you're doing some incredible artwork with textures?
Thank you. Well, for me, it's very therapeutic. I mean, and it's a way also to be green, to be sustainable, because a lot of times they're remnants from things I may have made. Like I might take a little piece from here, a little piece from there. And it's just like patchwork. Patchwork is a quilting technique where you take a little piece of fabric from here, take a little piece there, you sew it together, and then you have an altogether new fabric. So decoupage to me is very much like that. It's just not with sewing. And I feel like the two complement each other well. Like when you pair them together, I feel like all of my artwork speaks to each other. Because I have an affinity for earth tones. I came up with them in my household. My mom, my dad, we always had the earth tones around. And so I naturally like them, but at the same time, I wonder how much that plays into the colors that I use. Like we'd always have oranges and greens and browns, and so I have a tendency to use a lot of those colors.
As I thinking about the art, we spoke just briefly now about some of Denise's art, like the decoupage, and your art is actually can be sold. I mean, all of it can be sold, but I mean it like furnishing some of the things that you make. Yes. We're going to take a break so you can see some of Denise's artwork, and I'm going to give you all of her information, her website and things, so you can actually go there to help support her and to just see the beautiful, art pieces that she has created that you might put in your house, really, for sure. Thank you. So don't go away. We're going to be right back. We're just going to allow you to see some of Denise's artwork. We'll be right back. Well, I know you all enjoyed seeing some of Denise's artworks and how beautiful they are and just how intricate some of it is. It's just beautiful. And you can see more on her website and look out for some of her exhibitions that are going to be shown and what's coming up. So that's why it's good for you to go and tag her in her website. You're on Instagram and Facebook and all those social media outlets, and you can keep up with what's going on. But you know what, Denise, I wanted to also ask you is that as a young Black artist, or as a Black artist even, period, there are challenges that you face that some other artists won't face. And can you talk about a little bit some of the challenges that you faced and how your faith has helped you to kind of get through them or keep on going? I don't know, maybe if you've ever had any days that, sometimes everybody, no matter what sphere of life you're in, has had some days where you just feel like, I don't know if I can keep doing this,
I would say time management, because what started out as something that I just happened to do turned into a side hustle. And then with the pandemic getting in the way, it kind of is becoming my main hustle now. I don't like to use the word hustle, but Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
And so I would say time management, because just to teach a class, you have to prepare for it. Teachers don't just work, the 8 hours that they're there. You have to grade papers afterwards. You have to plan ahead of time. So that was like a lifestyle in itself. And I would say finding time to do this that I wanted to do, Denise Toney Designs. But relying on my faith, I have to give it all to God, because some days I would make a quilt before I even went for my day job, and it might be 5 o'clock in the morning, but because it was something in me that I absolutely had to get out of me, it's definitely a calling, and I'm just grateful that he chose me to do this. And I feel like I'm a vessel, and I'm just glad that I also get joy out of it. It's therapeutic to me, and it's wonderful that other people, get joy from it as well.
When you do art, especially some of the quilts and the things that you do, what actually shaped you? What made you? Were you just drawn to that type of art because it's so intricate, it's so beautiful? It's more than just a quilt. It really. Although I know quilts are meant to be artistic and all, but wow, and it's like a tribute to your culture too.
Yes, definitely. In 2006, I took a class in Harlem, and I just did it on a whim, I guess trying to find my way, okay, so you work 8 hours, you sleep 8 hours. What are you going to do with the other 8 hours? So I just took the class on a whim, but then I found that I really liked it. And I started reading more about it, learning more about it, taking other classes. And the fabrics, they're just so beautiful. They draw me in, and it's like being able to pair them together. And it's just, I feel like it's beyond me. I feel like I'm just the vessel. And but yes, it's very much cultural. And with Women's History Month was just last month, but I never realized how much a lot of my fabrics are women-centered fabrics. And so even though Women's History Month has passed, I still intend to make a collection featuring all of my women-centered fabrics. I just feel like we should be celebrated, and I like when the younger generation can look up and see positive images of us and say, oh, that looks like me, or I want to look like her. And I think that's very important that, for us to see ourselves. So as far as challenges, sometimes I wonder if I don't want to be seen as one-dimensional, because yes, African-centered fabric is you could say my signature, but at the same time, I love just regular things like butterflies. I love flowers, floral fabrics. They really get me. And I like being able to incorporate all of it together.
Yeah. Wow, that is so awesome. So as you think or you look ahead, where do you want to go? Where are you, striving to be with your art? Are you, or
Like,
what, like take, people say, oh, I'm taking it to the next level, and what's the,
mhm.
what's it?
I would like to incorporate more fashion design because I'm already known for home decor. I don't like to say home decor because you can put it in your office or wherever you are. I'm known more for decor, but I also want to branch out into fashion design. So that's next. Embroidery. I have an embroidery machine, and I just want to, incorporate that into my quilting. I just don't want to have any limits, So I want to try other things. Like you mentioned sculpture. I would like to try that out. And you just never know. I don't want to
That's
put a
right.
cap on my life, but always ever growing. And I'm just open to growing more as an artist. Mhm.
It's all art. It is all art, and you should have
Correct.
no limits, right? You should have no
Mhm.
boundaries, no limits.
Yes.
And that's the wonderful thing. You don't have to restrict yourself.
Hmm.
You know,
And even other needle arts, because yes, I'm known for sewing and quilting, but I also want to try knitting, crocheting. I think it's so beautiful. And I mean, I learned as a child, but I forgot. So it's like I have to revisit. And also my grandmother, she was a great seamstress and she knitted. And it was just amazing to, when I was a kid, I would just get a bag of clothes that she specially handmade for me. And it just made me really, really feel loved. So, um, I would just like to keep on with the tradition.
I think that's awesome. Because you don't want to lose that art.
No.
You don't, we don't want to lose that art in our community and our culture, and it's been, and like you mentioned with your grandmother, it's passed down,
Yes.
and I see other cultures that are passed. I mean, I go to arts and crafts store and I see so many other
Mhm.
people that don't look like me that are in there
Yes.
with their grandchildren or with their
Yes.
daughters, and they're picking up things, and it just goes to show how much they know and realize the value of art actually is.
Yes. That's one thing I love about art exhibitions. You see all kinds of races, all ages. It's something that speaks to everyone. And I just think that's really beautiful.
It is, and it's so much self-expression, and it allows people to express themselves when they can't express themselves in other ways. Artists,
Exactly.
even if there's pain, like you see something art and you hear the history of that artist, what they were going through at that time, just like
Mhm.
when this writers or singers,
Mhm.
they write out their hearts, like a Mary J. Blige or someone, or the singing artist, or
Yes.
whatever their art form is, whether it's
Mhm.
performing or visual. There's a way to get what's, when you don't have the words, you can put it in
Right.
your art form. And
Yes,
I
that's just what I do too.
and yeah, and you know what, I think so much of I see so many youth that are going through a lot of things these days, through the
Yes.
pandemic, and I think if they had more outlets, I
Yes.
think of when we were coming up as kids, we had so many outlets, we had
Yes.
places where we could go, things that we could do, but because of
Mhm.
defunding and stuff in our communities, we don't have those places anymore, and there's
Yes.
not much to do. And the old saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yes.
It leaves them
Indeed.
so much room to get into other things. And I really hope and pray and wish for, more things to be, active in our communities that would allow our young people to have outlets that are affordable. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes, I agree 100%
And
because this is showing a lot of young adults. It's like when I would ask them, so what did you do this weekend? And say nothing. I just stayed in the house. And I don't think they so much choose to be that way. But like you said, we had a lot of options. And I think it's important for those options to be available so that they can find themselves, and
yeah, so I think that that's so wonderful and commendable that you do give time to youth and to art, and so um, I think it's just delightful. I mean, what would you say to encourage any other upcoming young artist? Words that you might have for them?
I would say believe in yourself, be your true authentic self, and just trust that your gift will make room for you, and be prepared more than anything, because you don't just get into exhibitions, but you have to prepare. Like, a lot of times they ask for a bio, an artist statement, or you may have to tie into a theme. So I would say to just be prepared, be ready, because like I said, the background of what you have to do is not just, okay, I'm going to pop my artwork here, but you have to keep track of your inventory that's out. Sometimes you may have concurrent exhibitions, so you have to know what's where, keeping inventory, whether or not something's sold. So there's definitely business behind it. So I would say to keep yourself well versed with what's going on. And nowadays with the internet, it's way easier than, prior to us having the internet. It's such a blessing, because a lot of people are very generous as far as putting out tips. And so I have devoted a lot of time to find out, the best method to do things, and new methods come out every day. So to just be open and willing to learn would be my best tip to offer.
Artists have, or do they need like promoters? Sometimes people, they say, oh, I promote art. And there is a fee attached to that.
Right. Honestly, I wonder myself, because again, with the advent of the internet, the world could be yours. Sometimes people are just magnetic, and they just draw a crowd with showing their personality along with their art. And but sometimes you can get a promoter that can get you into museums, more than one. And so I'm wondering, myself.
How does how do you get into a museum? How do you get your art into? You can't just, go there with your art and say, oh, I want to show you my art. There's a process, right? There's a process.
There is. In my situation, I was very blessed in that I was invited. Like, someone already knew about my work, and I just thank God for people who speak my name in rooms that I'm not even in. I'm very grateful for my village. It's like we have a mutual respect for each other, and that's how that one transpired. Sometimes there are open artist calls, like they just had one for the State Museum in Trenton, and so you just have to keep aware. The artist calls go out all the time, every day. New artist calls come out, but you have to have the time to devote to find out, what's going on when, and to prepare your submissions and on deadline, because deadlines are it seems like I'm always on deadline, but some Microsoft Excel has been very helpful in terms of keeping up with deadlines, with opportunities, because sometimes you may not, I won't say may not, it's not always about an exhibition. Sometimes they have residency. Sometimes it may be about a cover. Sometimes it could be for money. It could be a contest. There's so many different ways to
so you actually can promote yourself. You don't necessarily have to have a promoter. I didn't know whether it's easier, because when we used to hear about struggling artists. When you're doing your art, you don't have the money to give a promoter. Just like when you're starting up a business, you don't have certain finances. You're just trying to get it going. And but like, I know, as you work with such a spirit of excellence, is that you have to have, like you say, what are the I would say the three top things that an artist must have in order to even promote themselves to a museum, or to have, those who are putting on exhibitions, that you have to go there with some kind of readiness. What do you absolutely need to have, would you say?
I would say a solid social media presence. Even because I know sometimes the algorithms, but we don't have control over. Sometimes, okay, I have 2,000 fans or followers, whatever. I don't like those words, but fans or followers. But it might only 5 people. And that's not true, because you may have 40 people you went to high school with who would absolutely support you. So the algorithms we can't exactly control, but just to make sure your social media presence is professional looking. At the same time, you can interject your personality, but you absolutely want it to be business-like, professional, because you never know, that grant writer, may look at it. Sometimes you just never know who's looking at you, and they may like your post. I said, well, how'd they know about me? You know, and I just think to always be ready, and to make sure your writing is fine, because again, you want to put it over in a professional way. And if you can't do it, maybe, you know, invest a little money for a writer who can, you know, make a nice bio for you, nice artist resume for you, nice artist statement for you. And thirdly, I would say to, if you can, make sure your photographs are solid, because and then too, you have to know how to edit them, because sometimes they say, you know, they may want it to be a particular length on one side, so you have to make sure that you're able to edit them, you know, to their specifications, not so much the way you have it, but sometimes they want to see details up close. So I would say photography editing, to make sure that you're able to put because it may look very good in your studio or whatever, but if you can't get that picture to convey what you're trying to convey across, then I think photo editing is very important. And you can look on YouTube as far as how to do it, how to edit your images to a particular size and what have you, but you just want to do it before deadline so you don't have to worry about feeling crunched for time.
Yeah. In other words, don't be getting ready, be ready.
Yes, yes.
So when the opportunity comes, you're ready to go through the door. And I think that helps tremendously, because so many people have talent, but they don't know, you know, how to guide that or to steer that. And you are affiliated with several art organizations or things that help artists that people can maybe venture to try to become a part of, or is there something?
I recommend Studio Montclair because they send out a lot of opportunities that you can take advantage of, not just with their studio, but their hot list. They send out a hot list like every Tuesday. So I do think that it's well worth the investment to become a part of Studio Montclair. Let me see, Art in the Atrium. As far as Black art goes, just the same year the pandemic, what was that, 2020, at Morris Courthouse, was it the administration's building, there were 4 to 5 floors of just Black fine art. So I think if you could, you know, I guess network with people from Art in the Atrium, Studio Montclair, Manufacturers Village, that's a dedicated artist village in East Orange on Glenwood. A lot of people don't even know it's theirs, but if you can go to those studios and just talk to some of the artists, they're very open and they'll give you advice. So I think those 3 are some organizations that
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That is just really, really awesome. And it's just been a delight to have you here today to highlight what you do. And, you know, I pray God's speed in your life, and for everything that your hands touch, the Lord will multiply it and expand your territory.
Thank you very much. And of course, I wish the same for you. Thank you.
And I'm not going to close out. I'm going to let you, as we normally do, ask my guests to pray us out, you know, pray God's blessings. And you've already given some encouraging words to the viewers. And now I'm just going to ask you, would you close us out with prayer?
Okay, sure thing. All hearts and minds are clear. Father God, we thank you for the blessings you have given us so far. We thank you for keeping us from danger. We ask that you protect us, continue to protect us from things we cannot see. And we just ask that you would help us migrate through the pandemic. Hopefully it'll come to an end. I ask for a special blessing for those who have lost people, whether through COVID or are otherwise struggling with private pain. We just ask that you'll keep us. We thank you for the gift of faith. We ask that you'll increase our faith and help us to navigate through these times, these uncertain times for a lot of us. And just help us to be more of what you'd have us to be. And it's in Jesus' name, the Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. It's been such a blessing to have you here. And I look forward to seeing coming to one of your exhibitions in the
Okay.
future. I have to stay and keep up with you, and see how things are moving along. So I thank you for being here. Thank you, viewers, for being here again around the well. Every week we look for you. Please to come back and please share, like, subscribe, and we'll look for you the next time at the well. And until then, we say God bless you and stay well. Bye-bye.
Amen. Thank you.